Ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And etc.
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Chevy Drives Chicago, the official truck partner of your Chicago Bears.
We barrel out of the bye into the 6th week of the season, prepping for the Monday night matchup the Bears will spend outside our nation's capital playing the 3-2 Washington Commanders. What did Ben Johnson and his staff determine about the next phase of the season after a thorough review of the first 4 games? With Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Today we discuss on episode 175 of the Bears Etc. podcast. This episode of Bears Etc. brought to you by ChevyDriveChicago.com, the official truck of your Chicago Bears. Tom, you've said it many times. There is no time off, just time spent around football related to work, a little time to hit the reset button. At least that's what players and coaches did a little bit, as we did as well, but you're never far away from it. And so a big, deep dive by Ben and his staff to look at things that need to get better.
Yeah, I think when you look at listen to some of Ben's answers to the media, if you could have one key word that stands out, it's details. The details of improvement, and everybody has a hand in it. And it's whether the receivers running the routes perfectly, the quarterback going through his play action fake, the combination blocks of the offensive line up front, how the running backs read the holes. Those are details, and details of improvement takes time. So now with this next 13-week stretch for this offensive unit and the defensive unit as well, it's going to be about the little things, and it's going to be about how you do them in practice, because right now you don't have the luxury of having another bye week. So it's about kind of cramming a lot into a 13-week period. And when you say, okay, week 6 of the NFL season, it's kind of wild to think of how quickly that went. But this 13 weeks is going to go just as quickly, because I look forward to the Bears' offensive performance weekly, because I'm excited about where Ben has taken this offense, and I'm excited to see the development of the defense, especially when they're going to get some key components back in the mix.
Yeah, you wonder, too. I'm weekly with you on this. You get excited about what it's going to look like, because it could look different every single week. But once these details get ironed out and that running game comes to life, it's just going to open up his ability to call plays. And then we're going to really see something that we haven't seen in there in a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the cool thing about Ben is his ability to call plays and how creative he is, because he kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat. You better be ready for the unexpected. And so you don't know if it's a formation, if it's a motion, if it's just the kind of a creative play that he's dialed up, designed, and maybe started working in training camp, but this is the right time for it. So it's going to be exciting to watch these things over the next 13 weeks.
A little different post-bye on this one, Tom, because you get an extra day. You got the Monday night matchup, so Thursday becomes a no-practice day, and then back at it Friday and Saturday. Today, just kind of a bonus to get everybody back in the building and start getting back on the field. The other end of that, of course, is that the road team on a Monday night now has a short week, but also a travel. You're going to get in first thing, on Tuesday morning.
Yeah, but I think that the way that the science department of the NFL over the last 5 to 8 years of thinking about the rest habits and how to get these players refreshed, the coaches take a responsible role in that. So, yeah, it's not going to be the perfect case scenario of coming back from Monday night after playing the Washington Commanders and then getting ready for the Saints. It's about, making sure you get these guys rested up, ready to go on that Sunday afternoon, because, now there's a stretch of noon starts. And I know that's your favorite. It's one of my favorites. And, get some consistency in the schedule will really help this team as well.
Bold, vibrant, and brewed right here in the U.S. It's the perfect beer for tailgates, backyard grills, and post-touchdown celebrations. Cruz Blanca, Cerveza Refreshed, proud partner of the Chicago Bears. So injury report does not come out until Thursday for the first time. So we're really not going to know any details publicly anyway about Kyler Gordon, T.J. Edwards, Colston Loveland. The window opened up. You'll hear from Ben Johnson here in a moment. But for some of the injured players, namely Travis Homer and Austin Booker. I know you and I are both keenly interested in what Austin Booker, if he could somehow bridge that gap from the injury and what he did in training camp and in those preseason games and in the competition with the Miami Dolphins during the shared practices, also the Buffalo Bills, he was outstanding.
Right. He sure gives you some explosiveness off the edge, and I think it allows Dennis Allen to be a little bit more creative with his personnel groupings from first to third down. And I'm excited to see about the future of Austin Booker because he's a guy that came in that Ryan Poles made a trade for. They went out and got him. Now he's a year older. He's a year more mature. He's had a chance to spend another year in the weight room and in the cafeteria. And as a result, he really was shining brightly during training camp, and now I want to see it carry through for the rest of the regular season.
All right, let's hit the brakes here and pick up with Ben Johnson at the podium for the first time this week, getting a little outline of what he sees in Washington and also what he sees on his own roster.
When you watch their tape, what stands out is, their play style more than anything, and it's all three phases. You turn on special teams tape, they're flying around. You turn on defense, they're physical and they're flying around. And then offensively, it's the same story. And so a lot of credit to Coach Quinn. It's in his image, and we'll have our work cut out for us. So go ahead and open it up from there.
When you went back and looked at everything from the first 4 weeks, how do you evaluate where the offense is and where Caleb is?
Offensively, we're still a work in progress. Some things we're doing well, some things we're not. I think the inconsistent nature with which we're playing, we're shooting ourselves in the foot quite a bit. And when I look at where we were through the first 4 weeks, a lot of penalties. I want to say we were top 5 on offense there through 4 weeks. And so we're playing behind the sticks, and you can certainly feel that as I was calling it. I give the guys a lot of credit. I did feel like we were pretty good at getting back on track as much as we could, but it's just not sustainable when you're playing football that way. And so that's going to be an emphasis for us here going forward. We've got to get the pre-snap penalties under control, and they know that. The running game, I've kind of alluded to it over the course of training camp. It's going to take a little bit of time for our guys to all mesh together, and I think that's what the tape looks like right now. We're just not firing on all cylinders yet, and sometimes it could be the ball carrier not hitting the right spot. Other times it's just our combinations aren't clean yet, and it's going to take everybody. It's quarterback, it's receivers, it's O-line, it's tight ends to go along with those runners. So it's a very complex question, but the guys are playing hard. They're playing for each other. I think we're doing a good job of getting that kind of squared away, and I think good things will happen the more time we spend together.
In particular, when you look at the 4 games, was it the way it felt? I mean, did you have a feeling kind of going into the evaluation, okay, this is how I feel he's doing? And did it match that, or did anything jump out?
Yeah, I mean, some things as an offense we're doing better than others. I think drop back pass game right now, which once again, that kind of goes in hand with the get back on track mentality. He's doing a good job there of finding guys, and our guys are getting open. They're being detailed with their route running. But, like I said, the running game's struggling. The play action game's not quite where it needs to be off of that. That's typically where you get a lot of explosives or chunk plays. Our screen game leaves a lot to be desired. And so I don't think it's any one person right now. It's all of us coming together and getting this thing right. But, I do think that Caleb has grown each and every week. He's getting more comfortable calling the plays in the offense, and I'm really excited about what the next, call it the second quarter of the season, is going to look like for him.
With the run games, is it a matter of just expecting that the guys you have will eventually break through, or is there a point where, knowing the trade deadline's a couple weeks away, that you think maybe we need to upgrade that spot?
Our guys are going to be fine. I've kind of, it's not always the runners. It's everybody, and it's the quarterback carrying out his fake. It's the receivers blocking down the field. It's the tight ends doing their job, and the same thing with the offensive line. I think there's a lot of times on that tape we're not giving our runners a chance. So I think we're fine there.
And with your run defense, you indicated last week that there were some things you saw in terms of shedding blocks. What specifically are you seeing that you're hoping can get fixed quickly in that regard?
It's a commitment to the fundamentals and the techniques, and so today is more of a bonus day for us. We're going to get the motor running again, coming off the bye week, and then tomorrow we're going to be in pads, and we're going to look to get better in that regard. And it's both sides of the ball. We got to do a better job blocking. We got to get our pad level lower on offense, and then defensively, we have to violently shed those blockers. Our guys are going to know what that looks like. They've done it at times. We just haven't done it at all three levels consistently enough.
What have you seen from the Commanders? Their run game obviously is very established right now. They're doing it very well. What have you seen in that regard of what they do to change?
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, they do a phenomenal job. But you give Coach Kingsbury and Anthony Lynn, their run game coordinator, a ton of credit. I mean, those guys are. There's something new every week schematically. They put a lot of stress on the defense. The combination of gap schemes with, they're pulling guards and tackles, and then you add in the quarterback run part of it, and it's a handful. And so you got to be very disciplined. You got to hold the line of scrimmage with our front, and there's a reason why for 2 years now that they've been running all over people. So. We got a tall task at hand.
What have you seen out of Rome Odunze that's really unlocked him here in these first 4 weeks? It seems like his game has really exploded early in the season.
Yeah, he's a pro. He's a pro. He comes into the building and he looks to get after work. And, I think he's taken to that receiver room. Those guys really all mesh well together. It's the hard work mentality, yet I know he's had some production come his way that can kind of come in waves, if you will, and he started off hot here. Hopefully that'll continue to go. But I know he's just a guy that's committed to winning right now, and whatever it takes for us as an offense to score points and as a team to win ball games. And so I see him as a leader here on this team.
Tom, you touched on some of it at the outset, but Ben's quite clear in what needs to happen, and cleaning up the pre-snap stuff is really the first domino to fall. You got to clean that up, and he made sure that was emphasized to his team and to the media.
And I think it will. I think that's going to clean up a lot because, first of all, when you come out of training camp and you're trying to become familiar with the rhythm of the cadence of Caleb, and then you have a game at home, then you go into a really ugly environment in Detroit. I thought within that 1 week they improved, and then you come home and you have a game at home, and you did a nice job of having that type of rhythm on the line of scrimmage to make sure that you can be more aggressive with your play calling. And then you went into Las Vegas and you were able to have the same composure, but now I think with some time off and you get understanding of that rhythm, I think you're going to see a more efficient pre-snap football team than we saw in the first 4 weeks.
Yep, and obviously you'd like to have continuity, but there's been changes. You had Darnell Wright out. We have to check and see what his availability will be at right tackle, and then the left tackle situation that necessitated Braxton Jones, then bringing in Theo Benedette from one side of the line. So, most teams in the league already have had a lot of changes and injuries on the offensive line. Knock on wood, the Bears have had nothing serious on the offensive line just yet. I say just yet because, my gosh, I cannot believe how many offensive linemen this year, Tom, have already been lost for the season. Big names across the board, and it's a little alarming.
Yeah, but, that's what you got to get ready for throughout training camp, and that's why you rotate these guys around. You play them at a lot of different positions. The one thing the Bears, it's going to affect their game day activation because depending upon if Theo Benedette is the starting left tackle, then who is the swing tackle? And then if it is one of those two, Ozzie or Braxton Jones, you have to start feeding them reps in practice at the position they're not very familiar with. And then that's an indicator of where you're going to go on game day. It's the same thing when Austin Booker gets involved in the mix and a game day activation. How is that going to affect the defensive line? The number of guys that you have out there for game day activation. Same thing with TJ. Same thing with Kyler Gordon. All these guys are going to affect the game day activation roster, and even when you get Loveland back.
Score big at your local Chevy dealer. The Chevy Silverado will take you through the season in style. Chevy Drive Chicago, official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. You've been bringing this up to me, and Ben Johnson kind of set the stage for what is ahead in Washington in all three phases. That's a combustible outfit right there. They come at you hard. all three phases.
It will be the most physical game that the Bears play this point in the season. They're unlike any of the opponents they've played already. They have guys that have double-digit years of experience that bring a certain style of play. They have size on the front like Kinlaw and the defensive line, who's just a big man. And they have Duron Payne. They have other guys with experience. The offensive line is aggressive, and they have multiple tight ends blocking. They'll pull multiple offensive linemen on a play, either to create a point of attack or be deceptive for the athleticism of the quarterback. So it's going to be an interesting opponent to play, and you got to be able to, first of all, match their physical style of play.
All right, I want to talk about Caleb Williams going back home. So that's big. I'm not talking about what happened in 2024 either. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't think any of us do. It's just over with. We're moving on, right? But I mentioned on our Bears Game Night Light show the other night, Game Night Live, the Triple G, grind, growth, and growl. Because every time I see Caleb Williams, a still shot or video of him leaving the field after something big happens, he's literally screaming like the growl, the growl of satisfaction, of like letting out all that pent-up emotion that brings to the forefront during a game on an NFL Sunday and the preparation over the course of the week. But the grind, he's by all accounts, working hard, putting in the time. Evidence of growth under center and winning from the pocket, going through the numbers. Caleb on first down at 68%, seventh in yards. Blitz, he's doing quite well. No interceptions, 6 touchdowns against the blitz. 20-plus yard passes, tied for third in the league. Number 7 in quarterback rating on third down. So a lot of these building blocks toward a complete quarterback are starting to take shape, Tom. And I know it's only 4 games. It's still a small sample size in this scheme, but I'm believing what I'm hearing from Declan Doyle, the offensive coordinator, goes to the podium every week, and, of course, Ben Johnson every week, that, yes, Caleb is getting better. It's going to continue to head in this direction.
I agree wholeheartedly with that, with their evaluation of Caleb. I also think that the receivers are going to get better because Caleb's getting better. So when you look at the game that DJ had 2 years ago there, it was nearly a 200-yard game.
Yeah.
So now, how is Washington going to evaluate the offense? Are they going to assume that Rome is the new number 1, so we have to bring our coverage balanced over to Rome? Or are they still going to go, man, you see what this guy did to us 2 years ago, so we have to have the coverage balanced over to DJ? So it's going to change the thinking of how you're going to call plays, who is going to be really identified as the number 1 receiver for the Bears, and how do you make the other guy have his equal involvement, so maybe you have better opportunities. So it's going to be some interesting growth processes of the offense, depending upon how the defense reacts to how they feel about your receivers.
Yeah, rolling coverage could open up the middle of the field too for Cole Kmet and Colston Loveland. I thought it was interesting. Yeah, Zacchaeus, who obviously played there last year, so they know what he can do. He had a 500-yard season last year, or for that matter, just picking up where Ben left off about the screen game. He says it has been less than to be desired right now. To me, super difficult to perfect the screen game with so many moving parts. But you can rehearse my favorites. Why do I always like the hard stuff? I like the nickel blitz. It doesn't always get home. It's not the easiest blitz to execute. That's a time of a quarterback getting rid of the ball. But I love the screen pass. Hit the rails and go. Get the blockers out front. It's damaging. Again, I know it takes time, but, man, I hope that they can perfect that. I hope they can get as close as possible. That can really do a lot of damage.
Well, I always talk about how many reps it takes to perfect the cadence from the quarterback. It almost takes that many reps when you perfect the screen game, because there's a real rhythm to the screen game as the offensive linemen, first of all, have to block the defensive lineman. Let the defensive lineman think they won the rush, and then you got to get out in the flat, but stay behind the line of scrimmage to stay legal. So there's so many details of the importance of the scheming of a screen that, you have to run it hundreds of times in practice to perfect it.
Let me ask you this. In your opinion on the scale of a drive, what's the best down and distance for a screen?
To me, I think second medium is the perfect down a distance for anything because it's a luxury down. You know that you got third down in your pocket, right, Jeff? But if you got second median, you can take a chance with the splash play. You can take a chance that they're concerned about a splash play, so it's going to open up a screen opportunity for you. If you have a defense that overreacts a little bit too quickly in the middle of the field, then you can run a screen. If you have a guy that maybe, and with all due respect to Bobby Wagner, he's a 14-year linebacker, and you're not going to fool him, but you can outspeed him. And so if you can have that emphasis of a screen pass out in the flat, that's what you're looking for as well.
Well, to be second and medium, you got to be better on first down then, because on average, the Bears are 9.4 yards to go on second down. That's on average. There's been some good. There's been some not so good. So, again, that's attributable to the pre-snap penalties or a first down sack or things like that as well. So you gotta stay out of those to really open up things like that.
Yeah, and I do think they're going to get better. And I think that when you look at that length on second down, it really kind of, you got to say, okay, we need a portion of that 9 yards back, so it puts us in a more comfortable third down scenario in terms of protection, in terms of protecting against the blitz and getting the first downs. And, the Bears, I think that's all part of the process of growth.
Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears. This Bears season, Steinhoffels is partnering with Special Spaces Illinois to create dream bedrooms for children battling cancer. For every false start caused by the Bears defense during a home game, Steinhoffels donates $1,000 to Special Spaces Illinois. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. Switch of the gears because you've been talking about it and I've been stealing it from you, stealing your thunder about special teams. Special teams has a chance to be special. They were a highly ranked unit a year ago, despite the losses. They are really strong all over the place. The roster is full of outstanding special teams players. One of them, Daniel Hardy. Tom and I love this player. We love his attitude. We love his approach. We love how he's managed to put himself in a prime position to be an impact player some way, somehow in this football team. Caught up with him in the locker room earlier today.
I would agree. I think we have a lot of dogs in our room. Over there this week, they got a lot of guys who are, former Pro Bowlers, guys with a lot of accolades. And I believe that we got the same caliber of dudes in this room. They just haven't necessarily been voted into that category yet. I think it's going to be a good matchup. And I think we got the upper hand.
Yeah, they do have veterans that have gotten some Pro Bowl. But you guys are knocking on that door. I just looked this up, too. I don't know if you know. You have 18 special teams tackles in the last 21 games. Going back to last year, I know last year's around that's significant. That's a big number. Did you know this?
I did not know. But that's how we get down over here. I mean, we're all about helping the team, and we play every play like it's our last. And Coach HT has us coached up that way, and he's got us focused and locked in.
Who doesn't get enough recognition on your unit, in your opinion? Maybe does the things that maybe don't show up on a stat sheet.
All of us be showing up on a stat sheet. It depends on who you want to take away, because somebody else is going to show up. If you double team me, Carl's going to make a tackle. If you double team Carl, somebody else is going to make a tackle. We got a bunch of dogs in our room, and everybody's had production at some point this season. So I don't know if anybody goes, anybody's an unsung hero, but I think really D-Jack has been, coming in sort of late in the season, having to learn how we work on special teams and really having to jump in the mix. I think he's done a really good job of that, and he's been a person that we can now depend on. I think he's doing a great job, and as we continue to keep bringing him into the fold and the chemistry just gets better, I think we're gonna be better off, as a unit. And then the same thing with J.O., with Travis being down at the beginning of the season, him stepping into PP, that's a really big role, really important role, and him making that flawless transition and kind of taking ownership of that role and being a leader on punt. I think he's done a phenomenal job as well, too.
Yeah, a bunch of guys with nicknames that maybe the listener don't know, but you're talking about Jonathan Owens, you're talking about Carl Jones Jr., by the way, who has been elevated the last 2 games. He had five tackles in those 2 games.
Right.
So that's production that you can't just dismiss. Like he's knocking on the door to get on that roster.
Absolutely. Carl was on P Squad last year, so I know he's hungry as ever. he's a Cali guy, a West Coast dude like me, so we get along real well, and I love playing with him on on kickoff. And we be competing. And he's greedy, I'm greedy. We both trying to take tackles from each other. But that's another heavy hitter in there. And I love his drive. I love his energy. And he's just a hungry guy.
How would you describe the special teams meeting room right now? Because you just there's a bunch of guys in there. You said you can go down the list. A lot of guys are making some kind of impact. And what HT does to fuel that.
I mean, HT doesn't let us have bad practices. Like, bad practices are unacceptable. We got to be on top of our details at all times. And he's holding us to the standard that we were top 5 last year, and so now we have to be better than that now. Like, we can't drop down. We can't have down weeks. We can't have missed plays, missed opportunities, because it's not like defense and offense where you line up and you play the next play. We get one shot to be great. And so that's his emphasis, and that's what that's the standard he holds us to every day.
And we haven't even talked about the return game. Devin Duvernay, I've always appreciated his style, and he's been everything I thought he would be. But then you got Luther Burden back there, too. I think he's 5th in the league in kick return average. Is that unit, that aspect of special teams about to pop?
Absolutely. We've had too many opportunities in games where we're one block away, or somebody tripped over somebody's feet or something like that. So we've been putting it together, and the two of them back there are very dynamic, I think, in my opinion. And it's
play off each other well.
Absolutely, and I think it's only a matter of time before something big happens.
And then Torrey. Torrey's got an unbelievable array of weapons. I think he's just easing into this year right now. But man, that's a weapon. And then with the kick return rules and happened last night, it was a very important end of game kick that they kicked it out of bounds. Mm-hmm. So that whole thing is a psychological aspect of this league right now. All this melds into special teams being so significant, maybe more so than ever before, in my opinion. What do you think?
I would agree, and I think that was the whole point of all the rule changes. And but I love it. It's a whole third of the game that a lot of people forget about and don't necessarily understand sometimes. But guys like Torrey Taylor, he's so big because, honestly, he might not even need us out there covering kicks. Torrey could go out there and pin somebody inside the 5 all on his own. But guys like him, you set the whole defense up for their entire drive. It's the coach DA always says, punt's the first play defense. And so, if you can't go produce on punt, you can't go produce on kickoff, why would I ever put you on defense? So, you can, and then in terms of punt return, kickoff return, you're setting the offense up, giving them a short field. I forget what the statistics are, but when you start with the ball in the +40, +30 area, your chances of scoring go up significantly. Right. So it's stuff like that people don't always know. Everybody loves seeing touchdowns and big hits on defense, but it's the stuff that happens on special teams that kind of goes unseen sometimes.
I maintain it's like a Major League Baseball game. It's a home run with that initial tone set and hit, for example. But I also, to your point, I always chart teams' success or lack thereof if you pin opponent inside their own 20. Drives that started, and if they lead to touchdowns or turnovers. Mm-hmm. And not a lot of teams have offenses that can go the length of the field if you pin them deep without a mistake.
Exactly, and that's the whole point. That's our whole mission. That's everybody's mission, but I really think we have the guys in our room to get the job done.
I appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Don't you just love listening to the excitement of a player like that?
He's got the energy of a special team player, because right now that's how he's making his living, and he's super effective at everything they're asking him to do. He is he's a down lineman. He's a pass rusher. He's that type of a skill player, but now he's got to become familiar with how to legally block somebody when you're traveling 20 to 40 yards, either on punt return or kickoff return. And so Daniel Hardy has accepted his role and the improvement that he's made over the course of the year. But when you listen to that interview with you, it really made me excited, because his responsibility is infectious, and what he takes his role, and he knows how important it is. And I think it can spill over to other guys that may be coming out of a college program. They've never played special teams, but now that's how they're making their living. And you have to understand that a guy like Daniel Hardy that's really creating a niche in the NFL for himself, that's the same way some of these other guys that have been stars in their college teams have to do as well for the beginning of their career.
I certainly brought up a bunch of guys, from Jonathan Owens to Carl Jones Jr., who's, he's on the practice squad, and he's already had 5 tackles in his 2 elevations. How that is impacted in the future here with the roster, certainly Aman Agbangmiga has not had that window open up to return just yet. Travis Homer, though, is a valued special teams player. Elijah Hicks, Noah Sewell, Ruben Hippolyte, of course, Josh Blackwell, the reigning NFC Special Teams Player of the Week. Jonathan Jones is back on this. Roshan Johnson, and Jade Walker. So Jade Walker is somebody that Hardy, I asked him off after I is anybody that's infectious like you on the, he goes, Jade Walker, he goes, I can play in the mud with a guy like this. He goes, just wait when it happens. You're going to see it. He did it in college. He blocked a lot of kicks.
Yeah, Austin Booker, he's been playing special teams throughout the early part of the preseason as well. So, he's got that type of athleticism. As Daniel Hardy, the abbreviation when you're referring to somebody, I'm glad you cleared that up about it, because he wants to say HT. He's talking about Coach Hightower. But when you got a guy like Austin Booker, he's got the athleticism. If Coach Hightower feels that he's needed on special teams because he's playing a limited amount of game day reps, then he's going to be on those teams as well.
How do you tell a cashier you're a Bears fan without telling them that you're a Bears fan? With the Chicago Bears PNC Bank Visa debit card, which gets you exclusive discounts on Bears merchandise. Find out more at pnc.com/BearsCard. Go to defense. Dennis Allen faced Jayden Daniels last year as well. Okay, so that was a Washington team that was flying high. They made a big impact in year 1 under Jayden Daniels. I don't know what he's going to throw at him. I don't know how to attack this guy, but I do know this. You're big on finding out, okay, if a quarterback uses his legs to pick up X number of first downs, they're going to win the game. Do you feel that way about Jayden? Are they going to have to watch every move this guy makes after he gets through his progressions because he likes to leave the pocket?
Yeah, I mean, don't leave yourself vulnerable to the escape hatch that has significant yardage attached to it. I don't necessarily think I would like to go into a system that I'm spy specific.
Yeah.
I would rather rush the spy or cover with the spy than I would have someone stand behind the line of scrimmage that really doesn't move as well sideline to sideline as Jayden Daniels does. So I would invest as many bodies at him or in coverage as I possibly felt confident with. It's going to be a complimentary game. You're going to have to limit his access to the field, and that's by having a time-consuming offensive game plan. And then when the offense is on the field, the Commanders' offense is on the field, that's when you're going to have to limit his escapability and his run opportunities that can hurt you significantly. And I think I was saying that if he gets 4 to 5 first downs with his legs, you think of how many other plays that computes to?
Yeah.
He can't have it. In last game, he averaged 4.9 yards per carry on 8 of his carries. And, that's, when you're talking about, that's 40 yards, basically, when you round up on those 8 carries.
Introducing Cruz Blanca, a line of Mexican-American premium cervezas, bold, vibrant, and brewed right here in the U.S. It's the perfect beer for tailgates, backyard grills, and post-touchdown celebrations. Before we wrap things up, I found an article, it was written a while ago, and it was based on our conversation about Tress Way you and I had off mic. Left-footed punter. So that means the ball's going to fade to the punt returner's right. Lefty leg doesn't mean a lefty arm, which is also interesting because I read a story about Dustin Colquitt from the Colquitt family of punters. He was right-handed but left-footed, so his dad made him juggle golf balls and brush his teeth with his left hand to allow him to get nimble with his drop hand. And, because you got to have 2 hands on the football, drop the ball and then punt it. That's required. I read a story about Phil McConkey. Remember him?
Yeah,
New York Giants.
Of course.
Practice handling lefty kicks from none other than Phil Simms. Phil Simms, apparently, who was a right-handed quarterback, was a really good lefty punter.
Yes, he was.
These are fascinating topics for me that when you're drilling down deep into how teams prepare. Bill Belichick always liked to have a left-footed punter around during the week. They're playing a left-footed punter so that they get used to the spin of the ball. I don't know how this works with a jugs gun. Can you make it spin the other way?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm assuming that's what this week will be like when they get ready to face Tressway.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's no perfect formula. It's still about concentration, the flight of the football in an outdoor stadium in Bethesda, Maryland. So that's what you're going to have to live with. And these punt returners nowadays, they have a lot of experience. And was it this year we had the left-footed punter in training camp, or was that last year?
Yeah,
okay,
he's with Pittsburgh. Corliss.
Yeah. So, again, you're not going to be able to reinvent the punter, but you'll get the reps in, and you'll understand the flight of the football by the time they have that analytically all broken down anyways.
And you would think because you're not used to seeing it, there's so few lefty punters, or there were at one time. I think there were a dozen. I don't know how many there are. I didn't go through the experiment of finding out who those all are. But they said, you would think that more flubs or more muffs would happen. But no, that's not necessarily the case. It's not
anymore.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same thing, Jeff, in the punt return game. Is when we started in the business, it was put your heels on the 10-yard line and never back up to catch a punt. Now they're catching punts anywhere they happen to fly to on the field.
And how do you feel about that?
I don't know. I would be a question I would really like to ask Coach Hightower how the evolution of that came about, because I knew of it as a discipline when I was growing up through football, and now there is no uncatchable spot on the field because of coverage teams, because of flyers, because you just got to protect the ball from being downed at the 1 or the 2.
Also, I wondered because and then I finally realized one name. I don't know who else. Lefty place kickers. You haven't seen many. The population doesn't have a lot of left-handed or left-footed people. So, but David Akers, outstanding kicker. He was a lefty. Yeah. Do you remember any? Lefty kickers.
No, I don't, because every kicker I've ever played with has been right-footed.
Yeah.
These
are interesting, really deep dives on things, because special teams often gets overlooked. I find it. I love special teams. I love all the interesting angles.
George Allen was super special team specific. He took pride in that. So we had a guy on our team, Frank Corral. He was our kicker and our punter. And George believed if you had one guy doing both of those, you could keep an extra linebacker for special teams. And so just the philosophical thinking of these coaches throughout history and time, they change as much as allowing you to catch punts inside the 10-yard line now that at one time it was unthought of.
They got, speaking of George Allen, they got a lot of guys over 30 on that team. It's not quite the over-the-hill gang when they just gave away draft picks to have veterans, but maybe they want to have more veterans to trust.
You got Von Miller. You got the other linebacker that wears 57 is a 15-year guy. You got Bobby Wagner's a 14-year guy. There are plenty of guys on this football team that have double-digit years of service.
Have you watched Laramie Tunsil, how he's 10 years deep into his career? I know he was the most penalized offensive lineman in the NFL last year. He's getting better at that, but is he still good?
Yes, to me, I think you look at these guys like Trent Williams and Laramie Tunsil and stuff. These guys are in their prime at 10 years. They're definitely not over the hill.
Yeah.
They're because they have all the tricks of the trade. What you're trying to teach a guy through his first 5 years to be a great lineman. These guys are great linemen still because they know all the tricks. They know how to get off the ball on the cadence. They know how to protect themselves by not giving up a beatable opportunity before they ever come out of their stance. So all the little details, you look at Jake Matthews from the Atlanta Falcons in his string of plays, he grew up around the football family, but he's also taught himself a lot in the consistency of his career.
If you didn't have a back injury that required surgery, would you have had a 14 or 15-year career playing at guard? You got to 9. You got to 9 as a player.
Listen,
but that's 9 NFL. Yeah,
9 in the NFL, 3 in the USFL.
So you got to 12.
If I would have had the modern day NFL of the way they go through their offseason, the limited full padded practices and training camp, I would have been a 15-year player easily. I mean, as long as I stayed healthy, because mentally I was still excited about the game, but physically.
I never asked you this. Did you, when you started out of Notre Dame, your professional, did you have a number in mind that you wanted to play?
10 minimum.
Okay. Well, you usually got that.
Well, it just also I had the approach of the double days, and the preseasons the way they were and all that kind of stuff. But I tell you the same thing to young guys when I meet them now. I said, you put that 10-year benchmark in your head, and everything after that is gravy.
Joe Flacco's gone beyond that.
I know.
And then he got traded today from Cleveland. See, it's about these quarterbacks. Like, it's amazing what's going on.
Yes.
But, Cincinnati feels it's in a desperate situation. Jake Browning has not been playing well. He did play great last year, but it's not happening so far this year, and they'd still like to be a playoff team. They got a lot of talent.
Well, I'm surprised what Carson Wentz has been able to do for Minnesota. Now he's got a bad left shoulder, and I think it's a real sign of desperation when you go out there and make a trade for a 40-year-old guy who you made a trade of an asset for a guy that's only going to be there for the remainder of this year. So I don't know.
Bengals got Flacco in a 6th rounder for a 5th rounder.
Yeah, it's desperation there.
Good news, Chicago United Airlines is getting brand new planes with all the bells and whistles like Bluetooth connectivity, screens at every seat, and room for everyone's roller bag. United, proud to fly the Chicago Bears, and you too. Yeah, Cincinnati on the schedule. When it comes out, that's why I don't like doing all these projections on wins, because the week you play whomever, it's a crapshoot and who's going to be ready to go. And the Bears are not going to face Joe Burrow. Heck, they may not even face Lamar Jackson. I don't know. Things look different when you get into the teeth of the season.
Are they going to face Terry McLaurin?
Right. I mean, he's got a name of Scary Terry for a reason.
Yeah.
He is, and Jayden Daniels, that's his guy. That is his go-to guy for sure. All right, that's going to wrap us up. We'll dig deeper into Washington. We'll also on Bears Weekly this week talk to London Fletcher, who's the Tom Thayer of the Washington Commanders broadcast. He'll join us as well. We'll get some of him in the podcast. And surprises along the way. I think Tremaine Edmonds is going to be on that show as well. All right, for Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.